Hare Krishna, dear devotees, welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books. Right here in Hythe, Kent, Southeast England, just near the English Channel. We had exalted guests today by Shishikar Prabhu and his better half, Nirakula. My surrogate mom, since my mother died, she became my mom, which was very kind of her. Anyway, we spent time together. They heard samples of the CC audio files and were completely enamored. They said very nice things about it. I won't repeat them all, we don't have time. But we had very nice Sangha. They loved the atmosphere here, and we loved them and their atmosphere. Okay. Continuing to try to perpetuate this safe haven here by hearing Srila Prabhupada straight, his books straight. We recite Srimad Bhagavata Mahima Stotram from Sri Krishna Lila Stava, verses 412 to 416, by Srila Sanatana Goswami. He's offering obeisances to the Krishna Lila in Vrindavan, but he's also indirectly glorifying the Bhagavad-gita, because the Bhagavad-gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam are in the same category. The Bhagavad-gita is very succinct. The Srimad Bhagavatam unpacks the knowledge of the Bhagavad-gita and gives us the details of Sri Krishna's personality, incarnations, and personal pastimes. It goes like this: Sarva Shastrabdi Piyusha, Sarva Vedaika Satpala, Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja, Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana, Srimad Bhagavata Prabho, Kalidwandoditaditya, Sri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master, Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya, Prema Varshakshadayate, Sarvada Sarvasevyaya, Sri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who are supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin, Madguro Man Mahadana, Man Nistadaka Mad Bhagya, Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin, atini chochata kada, hanamun chagadachin mam, premna rit kanta yogspura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we've reached the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and we've just heard the 4 seed verses of the Bhagavatam and Arjun's reaction to them. Now we're moving on. He's accepted Krishna as the Supreme Brahman as a result of what he's heard. And now we're going to move on to the 10th chapter to learn more about how to think about Krishna. Text 15. Swayamevatmanatmanam vetatvam purushottama bhuta bhavana bhuteshu deva deva jagatpate. Indeed, you alone know yourself by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. Purport. The Supreme Lord Krishna can be known by persons who are in a relationship with him through the discharge of devotional service, like Arjuna and his followers. Persons of demonic or atheistic mentality cannot know Krishna. Mental speculation that leads one away from the Supreme Lord is a serious sin. And one who does not know Krishna should not try to comment on Bhagavad-gita. Bhagavad-gita, just one moment while I turn down the sound here. Getting messages. Bhagavad-gita is the statement of Krishna. And since it is the science of Krishna, it should be understood from Krishna as Arjuna understood it. It should not be received from atheistic persons. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1-11, Vedanti tat tat vavidas tatvang yad jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. The Supreme Truth is realized in three aspects: as impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and at last as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So at the last stage of understanding the Absolute Truth, one comes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. A common man, or even a liberated man, who has realized impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, may not understand God's personality. Such men, therefore, may endeavor to understand the Supreme Person from the verses of Bhagavad-gita, which are being spoken by this person, Krishna. Sometimes the impersonalists accept Krishna as Bhagavan, or they accept his authority. Yet many liberated persons cannot understand Krishna as Purushottama, the Supreme Person. Therefore Arjuna addresses him as Purushottama. Yet one still may not understand that Krishna is the Father of all living entities. Therefore Krishna addresses him as Bhuta Bhavana. And if one comes to know him as the Father of all living entities, still one may not know him as the Supreme Controller. Therefore he is addressed here as Bhutesha, the Supreme Controller of everyone. And even if one knows Krishna as the Supreme Controller of all living entities, still one may not know that he is the origin of all the demigods. Therefore he is addressed here as Deva Deva, the worshipful God of all demigods. And even if one knows him as the worshipful God of all demigods, one may not know him. No, one may not know that he is the supreme proprietor of everything. Therefore he is addressed as Jagatpati. Thus the truth about Krishna is established in this verse by the realization of Arjuna, and we should follow in the footsteps of Arjuna to understand Krishna as he is. Text 16. Bhaktum arhasya sheshena divya yatma vibhutayaha yabir vibhutibir lokan imam stvam vyapyatishtasi. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade these worlds, or by which you pervade all these worlds. Purport. In this verse, it appears that Arjuna is already satisfied with his understanding of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. By Krishna's grace, Arjuna has personal experience, intelligence, and knowledge, and whatever else a person may have. And through all these agencies, he has understood Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For him, there is no doubt, yet he is asking Krishna to explain his all-pervading nature. People in general, and the impersonalists in particular, concern themselves mainly with the all-pervading nature of the Supreme. So Arjuna is asking Krishna how he exists in his all-pervading aspect through his different energies. One should know that this is being asked by Krishna. One should know that this is being asked by Arjuna on behalf of the common people. Text 17. Kritang bidyang ahang yogins twang sada parichintayan keshu keshu chabhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you? And how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? Purport. As it is stated in the previous chapter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is covered by his Yogamaya. Only surrendered souls and devotees can see him. Now Arjuna is convinced that his friend Krishna is the Supreme Godhead, but he wants to know the general process by which the all-pervading Lord can be understood by the common man. Common men, including the demons and atheists, cannot know Krishna because he is guarded by his Yogamaya energy. Again, these questions are asked by Arjuna for their benefit. The superior devotee is concerned not only for his own understanding, but for the understanding of all mankind. So Arjuna, out of his mercy, because he is a Vaishnava, a devotee, is opening for the common man the understanding of the all-pervasiveness of the Supreme Lord. He addresses Krishna specifically as Yogin because Sri Krishna is the master of the Yogamaya energy, by which he is covered and uncovered to the common man. The common man who has no love for Krishna cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore, he has to think materially. Arjuna is considering the mode of thinking of the materialistic persons of this world. The words keshu keshu chibhaveshu refer to material nature. The word bhava means physical things. Because materialists cannot understand Krishna spiritually, they are advised to concentrate the mind on physical things and try to see how Krishna is manifested by physical representations. Text 18. Vistarenatmanatmo Vistarenatmano yogam vibhutim cha janardana bhuyak kataya triptirhi shrinbato nasti me mritam. O Janardan, again, please describe in detail the mystic power of your opulences. I am never satiated in hearing about you, for the more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words. Purport. A similar statement was made to Sutta Goswami by the rishis of Naimisharanya, headed by Shonaka. That statement is, Vayam tu na vitriptyama uttama shloka vikrame yach chinvitam rasagyanam swadu pade pade. One can never be satiated, even though one continuously hears the transcendental pastimes of Krishna, who was glorified by excellent prayers. Those who have entered into a transcendental relationship with Krishna relish at every step the descriptions of the pastimes of the Lord. Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1-19. Thus Arjuna is interested in hearing about Krishna, and specifically how he remains as the all-pervading Supreme Lord. Now, as far as Amritam, nectar, is concerned, any narration or statement concerning Krishna is just like nectar. And this nectar can be perceived by practical experience. Modern stories, fiction, and histories are different from the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, in that one will tire of hearing mundane stories, but one never tires of hearing about Krishna. It is for this reason only that the history of the whole universe is replete with references to the pastimes of the incarnations of Godhead. The Puranas are histories of bygone ages that relate the pastimes of the various incarnations of the Lord. In this way, the reading matter remains forever fresh, despite repeated readings. Text 19. Shri Bhagavan-uvacha hantate katayeshyami divyayatma vibhutayaha pradhanyata kurushreshta nasjanto vishtarasya me. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, yes, I will tell you of my splendorous manifestations, but only of those which are prominent, O Arjuna, for my opulence is limitless. Purport. It is not possible to comprehend the greatness of Krishna and his opulences. The senses of the individual soul are limited and do not permit him to understand the totality of Krishna's affairs. Still, the devotees try to understand Krishna, but not on the principle that they will be able to understand Krishna fully at any specific time or in any state of life. Rather, the very topics of Krishna are so relishable that they appear to the devotees as nectar. Thus the devotees enjoy them. In discussing Krishna's opulences and his diverse energies, the pure devotees take transcendental pleasure. Therefore, they want to hear and discuss them. Krishna knows that living entities do not understand the extent of his opulences. Therefore, he agrees to state only the principal manifestations of his different energies. The word pradhanyata, principle, is very important because we can understand only a few of the principal details of the Supreme Lord, for his features are unlimited. It is not possible to understand them all. And vibhuti, as used in this verse, refers to the opulences by which he controls the whole manifestation. In the Amarakosha dictionary, it is stated that vibhuti indicates an exceptional opulence. The impersonalist or pantheist cannot understand the exceptional opulences of the Supreme Lord, nor the manifestations of His divine energies. Both in the material world and in the spiritual world, His energies are distributed in every variety of manifestation. Now, Krishna is describing what can be directly perceived by the common man. Thus, part of his variegated energy is described in this way. Text 20. I am the super soul, O Arjuna, seated in the hearts of all living entities. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Purport. In this verse, Arjuna is addressed as Gudakesha, which means one who has conquered the darkness of sleep. For those who are sleeping in the darkness of ignorance, it is not possible to understand how the Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests Himself in various ways in the material and spiritual worlds. Thus, this address by Krishna to Arjuna is significant. Because Arjuna is above all such darkness, the Personality of Godhead agrees to describe His various opulences. Krishna first informs Arjuna that he is the soul of the entire cosmic manifestation by dint of his primary expansion. Before the material creation, the Supreme Lord, by His plenary expansion, accepts the Purusha incarnations, and from Him everything begins. Therefore He is Atma, the soul of the Mahatattva, the universal elements. The total material energy is not the cause of the creation. Actually, Mahavishnu enters into the Mahatattva, the total material energy. He is the soul. When Mahavishnu enters into the manifested universes, he again manifests himself as the super soul in each and every living entity. We have experienced that the personal body of the living entity exists due to the presence of the spiritual spark. Without the existence of the spiritual spark, the body cannot develop. Similarly, the material manifestation cannot develop unless the Supreme Soul, Krishna, enters. As stated in the Subala-upanishad, Prakrityati sarvabhutantaryami sarvasheshi cha narayana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is existing as the Super Soul in all manifested universes. The three Purusha avatars are described in Srimad Bhagavatam. They are also described in the Satpata Tantra. Vishnos tu trini rupani purushakyan yato viduhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests three features as Karanodakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu, and Shirodakashaya Vishnu in this material manifestation. The Mahavishnu, or Karnodakashaya Vishnu, is described in the Brahma Samhita 547. Yakaranarnabhajale bhajati smayoga nidram. The Supreme Lord Krishna, the cause of all causes, lies down in the cosmic ocean as Mahavishnu. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the beginning of this universe, the maintainer of the universal manifestations, and the end of all energy. Text 21. Adityanam aham Vishnur Jyotisham Ravir Angshuman Marichir Marutamasmi Nakshakranam aham Shashi. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. Purport. There are 12 Adityas, of which Krishna is the principal. Among all the luminaries shining in the sky, the sun is the chief. And in the Brahma Samhita, the sun is accepted as the glowing eye of the Supreme Lord. There are 50 varieties of wind blowing in space. And of these winds, the controlling deity, Marichi, represents Krishna. Among the stars, the moon is the most prominent at night, and thus the moon represents Krishna. It appears from this verse that the moon is one of the stars. Therefore, the stars that twinkle in the sky also reflect the light of the sun. The theory that there are many suns within the universe is not accepted by Vedic literature. The sun is one, and as by the reflection of the sun, the moon illuminates, so also do the stars. Since Bhagavad-gita indicates herein that the moon is one of the stars, the twinkling stars are not suns, but are similar to the moon. Text 22. Vidanam samavedosmi devanam asmi vasavaha indriyanam manaschasmi bhutanam asmi chetana. Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in living beings, I am the living force, consciousness. Purport. The difference between matter and spirit is that matter has no consciousness, like the living entity. Therefore, this consciousness is supreme and eternal. Consciousness cannot be produced by a combination of matter. Text 23. Rudranam Shankaraschasmi Vitesho Yaksharakshasam Vasunam Pavakaschasmi Meru Shikaranam Maham. Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am fire, Agni. And of mountains, I am Meru. Purport. There are 11 Rudras, of whom Shankara, Lord Shiva, is predominant. He is the incarnation of the Supreme Lord in charge of the mode of ignorance in the universe. The leader of the Rakshas and Yakshasas is Kuvera, the master treasurer of the demigods, and he is a representation of the Supreme Lord. Meru is a mountain famed for its rich natural resources. Text 24. Purudasang chamukyam mam vidiparta brihaspatim sinaninam aham skanda sarasam asmisagadaha. Of priests O Arjuna, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya, and of bodies of water, I am the ocean. Purport. Indra is the chief demigod of the heavenly planets, and is known as the king of the heavens. The planet on which he reigns is called Indraloka. Brihaspati is Indra's priest, and since Indra is the chief of all kings, Brihaspati is the chief of all priests. And as Indra is the chief of all kings, similarly Skanda, or Kartikeya, the son of Parvati and Lord Shiva, is the chief of all military commanders. And of all bodies of water, the ocean is the greatest. These representations of Krishna only give hints of his greatness. Text 25. Maharshinam Briguraham Gidam Asmyekamaksharam Yajnanam Japajagyosmi Stavaranam Himalayaha. Of the great sages, I am Brigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names, Japa. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas. Purport. Brahma, the first living creature within the universe, created several sons for the propagation of various kinds of species. Among these sons, Bhrigu is the most powerful sage. Of all the transcendental vibrations, Om, Omkara, represents Krishna. Of all sacrifices, the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, is the purest representation of Krishna. Sometimes animal sacrifices are recommended, but in the sacrifice of the Hare Krishna, there is no question of violence. It is the simplest and the purest. Whatever is sublime in the worlds is a representation of Krishna. Therefore the Himalayas, the greatest mountains in the world, also represent him. The mountain named Meru was mentioned in the previous verse, but Meru is sometimes movable, whereas the Himalayas are never immovable. Thus the Himalayas are greater than Meru. Text 26. Ashvatak sarvavrikshanam devarshinam chanaradaha gandharvanam chittarata siddhanam kapilo munihi. Of all trees, I am the banyan tree, and of the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chittarat, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila. Purport. The banyan tree, Ashwatha, is one of the highest and most beautiful trees, and people in India often worship it as one of their daily morning rituals. Amongst the demigods, they also worship Narada, who is considered the greatest devotee in the universe. Thus he is the representation of Krishna as a devotee. The Gandharva planet is filled with entities who sing beautifully, and among them the best singer is Chittarata. Amongst the perfected living entities, Kapila, the son of Devahuti, is a representative of Krishna. He is considered an incarnation of Krishna, and his philosophy is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Later on, another Kapila became famous, but his philosophy was atheistic. Thus there is a gulf of difference between them. Text 27. Uchchai Shivasang Ashwanam Vidimam Amritodbhavam Airavatam Gajendranam Naranam Chanadadipam. Of horses, know me to be Uchchai Shiva, produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants, I am Aravata, and among men, I am the monarch. Purport. The devotee demigods and the demons, asuras, once took part in churning the sea. From this churning, nectar and poison were produced, and Lord Shiva drank the poison. From the nectar were produced many entities, of which there was a horse named Uchchai Shiva. Another animal produced from the nectar was an elephant named Airavata. Because these two animals were produced from nectar, they have special significance, and they are representatives of Krishna. Amongst the human beings, the king is the representative of Krishna, because Krishna is the maintainer of the universe, and the kings, who are appointed on account of their godly qualifications, are maintainers of their kingdoms. Kings like Maharaj Yudhishthir, Maharaj Parikshit, and Lord Rama were all highly righteous kings who always thought of the citizens' welfare. In the Vedic literature, the king is considered to be the representative of God. In this age, however, with the corruption of the principles of religion, monarchy decayed and now is finally abolished. It is to be understood that in the past, however, people were more happy under righteous kings. Text 28. Ayudanam aham bhadram denunam asmikamaduk prajanash chasmikandarpak sarpanam asmivasukihi. Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the surabhi. Of causes for procreation, I am Kandarpa, the god of love. And of serpents, I am Vasuki. Purport. The thunderbolt, indeed a mighty weapon, represents Krishna's power. In Krishna Loka, in the spiritual sky, there are cows which can be milked at any time, and they give as much milk as one likes. Of course, such cows do not exist in this material world, but there is mention of them in Krishna Loka. The Lord keeps many such cows, which are called surabhi. It is stated that the Lord is engaged in herding the surabhi cows. Kandarpa is the sex desire for presenting good sons. Therefore, Kandarpa is the representative of Krishna. Sometimes sex is engaged in only for sense gratification. Such sex does not represent Krishna, but sex for the generation of good children is called Kandarpa and represents Krishna. Text 29. Anantas chasminaganam varuno yadasam maham pitrinam aryama chasmi yamak sangyamatam maham. Of the many hooded nagas, I am Ananta, and among the aquatics, I am the demigod Varuna. Of departed ancestors, I am Aryama, and among the dispensers of law, I am Yama, the Lord of Death. Purport. Among the many hooded Naga serpents, Ananta is the greatest, as is the demigod Varuna among the aquatics. They both represent Krishna. There is also a planet of Pitas, ancestors, presided over by Aryama, who represents Krishna. There are many living entities who give punishment to the miscreants, and among them, Yama is the chief. Yama is situated in a planet near this earthly planet. After death, those who are very sinful are taken there, and Yama arranges different kinds of punishments for them. Text 30. Praladas chasmi daityanam kalak kalayatam maham mriganam cha migrendroham vainateyas chapakshinam. Among the Daitya demons, I am the devoted Prahlad. Among subduers, I am Time. Among beasts, I am the lion. And among birds, I am Garuda. Purport. Diti and Aditi are two sisters. The sons of Aditi are called Adityas, and the sons of Diti are called Daityas. All the Adityas are devotees of the Lord, and all the Daityas are atheistic. Although Prahlad was born in the family of the Daityas, he was a great devotee from his childhood. Because of his devotional service and godly nature, he is considered to be a representative of Krishna. There are many subduing principles, but time wears down all things in the material universe and so represents Krishna. Of the many animals, the lion is the most powerful and ferocious, and of the million varieties of birds, Garuda, the bearer of Lord Vishnu, is the greatest. Text 31. Pavanak Pavatam Asmi Ramak Shastrabritam Maham Jasanam Makaraschasmi Srutasam Asmi Janavi. Of purifiers, I am the wind, and of wielders of weapons, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark, and of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Purport. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest and is currently the most dangerous to man. Thus, the shark represents Krishna. Text 32. Sarghanam adirantascha madhyam chaivaham arjuna ajatma vidya vidyanam badak pravadatam maham. Of all creations, I am the beginning and the end, and also the middle. O Arjuna, of all sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians, I am the conclusive truth. Purport. Among the created manifestations, the first is the creation of the total material elements. As explained before, the cosmic manifestation is created and conducted by Mahavishnu, Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, and Chirodakashayi Vishnu. And then again, it is annihilated by Lord Shiva. Brahma is a secondary creator. All these agents of creation, maintenance, and annihilation are incarnations of the material qualities of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the beginning, the middle, and the end of all creation. For advanced education, there are various kinds of books of knowledge, such as the 4 Vedas, their 6 supplements, the Vedanta Sutra, books of logic, books of religiosity, and the Puranas. So altogether, there are 14 divisions of books of education. Of these, the book which presents Adhyatma Vidya, spiritual knowledge, In particular, the Vedanta Sutra represents Krishna. Among logicians, there are different kinds of arguments. Supporting one's argument with evidence that also supports the opposing side is called jalpa. Merely trying to defeat one's opponent is called pitanda. But the actual conclusion is called vada. This conclusive truth is a representation of Krishna. Hare Krishna. So that takes us to 7:46, 46 minutes of reading. So let us hear the reflections of the devotees, the assembled sages who have come here to hear the glories of Krishna through the Bhagavad-gita and Srila Prabhupada's wonderful purports. Hare Krishna. Abhaya is scrolling down.
First is from Rati Manjari.
Hare Krishna Rati Haribo.
She says, Jai Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, there's more. She says, thank you for blessing our final Kartik evening with the stream of transcendental knowledge.
Hare Krishna. Sometimes when devotees hear these glories of the vibhutis of Krishna, the energies of Krishna that make up the material world, and the ones that are most wonderful that represent Him, they if they're not conscious of how it is that these energies are Krishna and represent Krishna, they get bored after hearing these sections that they tend to skip over. Even though this is one of the middle 7 chapters of the Bhagavad-gita, and is extremely important because it gives a neophyte devotee, a materialistic person, an opportunity to be able to, dovetail one's mind in Krishna by seeing His energies and appreciating that they belong to Him. So it's an important chapter, and it shouldn't be neglected. Hare Krishna.
Next is from Gopakanya Devi Dasi.
Haribo Gopakanya.
She says, Hare Krishna, dear Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
And your daily reading service.
Hare Krishna.
And from Bhaktamatsu.
Haribo Bhaktamatsu.
He says, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for consistently giving us the opportunity to hear transcendental sound. Yesterday in the purport of Srimad Bhagavatam 3:27-21, I found some really encouraging words about consistently hearing. Quote, one can transcend material entanglement by acting in Krishna consciousness, which means seriously engaging in devotional service. This serious devotional service can develop by hearing for long periods of time. Unquote. He continues to say that one must hear Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam repeatedly from reliable sources in order to become fixed in serious devotional service. Quite naturally, when we hear such things from Srila Prabhupada, we think of you and the daily readings and can't help but feel immense appreciation in our hearts. Thank you for being so kind to us and giving us those reliable sources so that we too can by your mercy become fixed in serious devotional service.
Well, thank you very much. That's a lovely thing to say. And I don't see myself like that, of course. I see myself, as I always say, as a peon, just delivering the message. But it's a fact that those of us who are attached to hearing about Krishna, it's good to hang out with us. Hare Krishna. Thank you. When Vaisheshika Prabhu came in here, he sat down, he saw Bhagavad-gita, he immediately picked it up and started reading it. Spontaneously, just like that. He was just constantly hearing and chanting. So refreshing and so empowering and enlivening to watch. So to become attached to Krishna and hearing about Krishna means you have to become attached to Krishna, the person, eventually. You can't keep hearing about him if you're not attached to Krishna as the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna.
Sudevi Dasi says, Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna, Sudevi Dasi.
From Daitari Haridas.
Daitya Hari Hari, Haribo, Haribo.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thanks again for these readings. And from Bhakta Rupa.
Haribo Bhakta Rupa, Haribo.
He says, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thanks for reading this evening. I joined a little late. I've been out giving out books in Cardiff. I probably missed the explanation, but I wondered why Krishna explains all of his opulences to Arjuna.
Because Arjuna asked him to. Arjuna asked him to because he wanted all the common men to understand, how to see Krishna within this material world. The vibhutis are the glories or opulences of Krishna in the material world. They're not Krishna directly, but they are representatives of Krishna, as we heard again and again in each of the purports. So the reason he spoke these things is because Arjuna asked him to. Just as in the next chapter, he asks him to show him his universal form. The purpose of these is to expose cheaters who will come later and pretend to be God or claim to be God, but without knowledge of God. And therefore he's trying to separate out the pretenders from the real persons who represent Krishna. And the real persons who represent Krishna, they know these things, and they don't get bored hearing them, just as we've heard from Matsu's citation from the Bhagavatam, that we should never become tired of hearing Krishna and his opulences and his glories, because the more we hear about them, the more we become attached to him. And that's the purpose. It's the purpose of these things, is to become eventually attached to Krishna and not just attached to a shark or to a mountain or to some other representation of a wondrous thing that represents Krishna. We shouldn't think that these things are Krishna, but they're vibhutis, they're energies of Krishna. And the ones that are particularly wondrous, that's why they have these large, tanks of fish, which sometimes include sharks that people can go through and look at. They big, huge, glass tanks, and people can walk through and listen and, oh, look at that. Isn't that wonderful? Look at how beautiful that one is. Oh, just see the colors of that one. And in this way, indirectly, they're actually glorifying God, glorifying Krishna, but they don't know what they're doing. But it helps them to appreciate there's something greater, there's something superior, there's something eventually supreme. Hare Krishna.
Next is from Anandamurti Devi Dasi.
Haribol Anandamurti.
She says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much for today's reading. One person on the street asked me which part of the 4 types of Vedas does the Bhagavad-gita belong to? Does this belong in the Puranas and not in the 4 types of Vedas?
Well, the Bhagavad-gita is special. It's contained within the Mahabharata, which is classified as an itihasa, or a history. And the Mahabharata is a history which summarizes all of the other Puranas, the essence of the Puranas. And the Bhagavad-gita is situated in the Mahabharata, but it is considered to be a part of the Upanishads. Therefore, it's sometimes called Gita-Upanishad. And the Upanishads are like the appendices of the 4 original Vedas. The original 4 Vedas are more or less descriptions of the ritualistic ceremonies that great sages and devotees use to perform sacrifice to please Krishna. And that's why Krishna says to Arjuna in the Gita, Trigunya Vishaya Veda Nistrigunya Bhavarjuna. Try to rise above the modes of nature. The Vedas mainly discuss the modes of nature and how they work and how to move through them and to improve oneself in the material world. But the Upanishads are attached to the Vedas to give a person a glimpse into the difference between matter and spirit, and to give one the beginning of the vision of absolute knowledge. And then the Vedanta Sutra was compiled by Vedavyas to summarize all the Upanishads. So the Upanishads and the 4 Vedas are categorized in the category of Shruti. Shrutis are scriptures that are eternal, meaning that their sound vibration cannot be changed. Not one syllable, not one intonation can be changed. The Puranas explain the Vedas in terms which ordinary people can understand. And they are written down by different sages in different yugas and different times in history. And they may differ. The composition of the texts may differ. But according to the Vedas themselves, they are considered the 5th Veda because they explain the Vedas. They're not different from the Vedas in the sense that they explain the Vedas. So you have these categories of the Vedic literatures, and they're all considered to be Vedic literatures or corollaries of the Vedic literatures, which make them not different than the Vedic literatures because they explain them in languages that ordinary people can understand. The language of the Vedas are not actually understandable by human beings. They are sound vibrations that are meant to be chanted to appreciate the demigods. The demigods can understand them, the language, but human beings cannot. Rarely can human beings understand the meanings and the purport of the Vedas. But they're mainly used in sacrifice to propitiate the demigods, to satisfy them. I hope that sheds some light on the question. Hare Krishna.
And from Rati Manjari.
Yes, Rati, Haribol.
She says, Dear Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. It is indeed fascinating to hear of the endless vibhutis of Lord Krishna.
Yes.
There was a certain person in India who was very popular and who would shake ashes out of his sleeves and call this vibhuti. What a difference between that and Krishna's opulences.
Yes. But there are cheaters born every day, and there are people who want to be cheated born every day, and therefore there are cheaters and the cheated. So to rise above the cheaters and the cheated, that is not an ordinary thing. Therefore we should always associate with devotees who know the difference. In the association of devotees, we can understand these things. And in the association of non-devotees who are screwing meetings out of these things, doesn't happen so much in in the West, but in India it is very prominent. But now even in the West, the impersonalist philosophers and scientists are trying to make some connection to make it spiritual, and they take the impersonalist interpretations from the Indian side in order to try to justify and make it more popular for the people who they know, need to have spiritual understanding. They need to know about the superior nature, that are governing them and controlling them. Hare Krishna.
Nandamurti Devidasi says, yes, Maharaj, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, thank you. It brings us to 8:05. Very good. Thank you so much. And as Rati Manjari pointed out, this is the last day of Kartik, the last day we chant our Damodarastakam and offer our lamp to Lord Damodar. So please enjoy this last day. Of course, there's no reason why we can't do it all the time, but that's the general practice of Vaishnavas. So we hope you all had a nice Kartik. We hope that your vows were completed. Most devotees chant extra rounds, or they do some extra, and they do the Dhammarastakam, and they offer their lamp. And sometimes they go and visit the holy places in the holy Dham. This is not so popular now because of the traveling difficulties and the COVID and everything. But still, we hope everyone had a very successful Kartik. It's stated in the scriptures that this is the best month of the year, and the devotional service that you do in this month seriously is more potent and gives great spiritual benefit. Bhagavad-gita As It Is ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Brinda ki jai. Gaur Prem Anandi Hari Hari Bo. Thanks you everyone. See you tomorrow night. Same time, same place, same topic. The glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which are unlimited and unfathomable and never satiate us. If we get satiated by hearing this, then we have to recount, reanalyze what we're doing to see what we're doing wrong. Because these sound vibrations wake up the soul. And when the soul becomes awakened, then there's true happiness that doesn't come and go, but stays with us and satisfies the depths of the heart, the soul in the heart, and the super soul also, sitting in the heart watching us. See you tomorrow. Hare Krishna.